Soundwave, I don't know how to tell you this, but I believe you're pregnant. Congratulations on your impending iPod. Something I really like about Titan's Return is the fact that the designers seem to do whatever they want, regardless of whether or not they think it'll sell as a toy or not. They'll do modern and they'll do futuristic, they'll do animals and vehicles, and hey, we'll even do a microscope. So, behold, the version of Perceptor I have been after for a long time. And let's see how exactly it came out, starting with a completely undocumented mode, which has complete engineering for it, so you know it was intentional. So this is based on the original Microchange toy line's microscope, and that's where we get G1 Perceptor. So just like that toy, it is capable of turning into the third intended mode for the design, which is something of a rolling observation post, I guess you'd call it. Some would call it like a mobile laboratory or a tank mode. This is very much to your imagination mode. We're just starting with it just to get it out of the way, because it is a pretty funky mode, and it's not really in the instructions. The interesting thing about this one, and this is kind of odd, there's this weird three-prong claw thing underneath, and this seems to be to stand a Titan Master on, like so. And this would make this the control panel, and it'd set them in a perfect spot for observing through the massive telescope. And that would actually make sense if this was a mobile laboratory or an observation post. Unfortunately, those little prongs don't seem to fit very well. So, I don't know, they really should just use the standard two pegs everything else does. Even in the stock photos, when you do see this mode, everyone just plugs the thing onto the side, which is perfectly acceptable. Why not? So it's a goofy mode. It doesn't really serve a whole lot of purpose. There is dedicated wheels on the underside to it, at least. And it has two mounting points for the gun, which makes a lot of sense when you plug it into the side like so. And makes absolutely no sense when you notice the peg hole here and plug it onto that, which just looks silly. But then again, so does this mode and its awkward angles. It's not like the original Perceptor, by the way. It can't fold down to a full tank. There's engineering in the way and nothing really locking it in place, which is something of a shame, because I liked the idea of a tank and a microscope in the same toy. It's such a contradiction, but hey, it's what it is. So let's go ahead and we'll make him look a little bit more familiar now. Go ahead and fold that away and get this. It's pretty small hop, skip, and a jump to get to the microscope mode. Fold in these treads here. Simple as that. Leave the actual feet stuck out like that. Same peg slots that we use to hook up to that tank mode, or whatever you want to call it, are the same slots you will peg the legs in to create the microscope mode. Like so. Make sure everything is flush and where it's supposed to be. And get this hinged down here. The instructions want you to take this little panel, this little Autobot symbol panel, and fold it down like that. I don't know why, because it doesn't seem to accomplish anything, but hey, who am I to defy the instructions? It's not like this is a Lego toy or anything. So that looks a lot more familiar. Now it definitely strikes the G1 Perceptor that we remember and have been waiting eagerly for the return of. He is cast mostly in a red plastic with a nice shade of teal along with it, and lots of silver and black details all the way around to make him look quite a bit like his G1 toy, right down to sticker detailing redone in total paint. I love when they go through that much trouble to recreate the look of the original. There's a lot of little spots on him to recreate sticker appearances. It's quite nice. Gives him a very big retro vibe. I mean, aside from the fact that he looks like a child's microscope, that is. Now, this mode itself, of course, it's not going to lend itself to the imaginative play that a car or a jet does, but for what it is, it does look fairly good. It actually does work. And by that I mean, like, it works as a microscope, not it works as a microscope. Okay, well, it looks like a microscope, but it doesn't work. See, you have lenses in there, but they're just little plastic ones, and they don't actually function. They don't give you an actual zoom in spite of the fact that turning this dial will actually extend the lens. That's actually cool. There's a little bit of telescoping function to him, just like the original toy. It's a little bit of geared gimmick I wouldn't expect out of Transformers these days, so bravo on you, Hasbro. The ones here on the side are just painted on, though, so unfortunately you will not be able to rotate those. They're there for aesthetics, though, and they make him look quite a bit like the original toy. So what else is there to do besides just stare at this thing? Well, you've got a big double hinge in the back, so you have plenty of adjustment angles for your microscope. So you can make it look a little bit more accurate, more about how you want. The big thing is that we can take Titan Masters and give them a closer examination. This is Convex, who looks very much like a tiny Perceptor with a toy-accurate head, except he has absolutely no paint whatsoever. I don't understand the idea of giving the Titan Masters names if you're not actually going to respect them as characters enough to give them even the littlest bit of paint. And he looks very dull here. The only paint on him is for Perceptor's head on the back. And look at how much paint went into the actual toy, and then notice that not a dollop managed to hit this little Titan Master. I'm sorry, Convex. You're doomed to just be an accessory to this toy's main gimmick. Articulation-wise, just like any other Titan Master, his arms are ball-jointed, but up and down is all they're really good for. Ball-joint at the neck, and then the double hinge for the thighs to create a bend in the knee. Oh, that's all well and good. So what can we do? Well, there are little slots on the glass panel here, and we can actually peg the little heel point of a Titan Master in there so he can examine Titan Masters. He's suspiciously aimed at their groin, which is unsettling. I don't question the doctor, though. Or we can go ahead and fold them up, and that exact same tab can plug into here, and this way he gets to examine the brain of any Titan Master you want, which seems, quite honestly, that seems a little bit closer to what I would expect out of Perceptor. So, well, that's aside. So he has a few bits of functions he can do, and of course you do have these little tabs here, so you can plug some Titan Masters onto his legs, just so you have a little bit of armament, a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of function as a base mode, I assume. Strange as it is. So let's get this guy to robot mode, and we'll see at least how accurate he came to actually being a real Perceptor. So this is, again, pretty easy. If you've seen how the G1 toy transforms, it's pretty much the same thing. You know, boom, boom, I'm already done with the legs right there. So here's the interesting thing. I'll go ahead and show you this, is that aside from this panel folding down, and I don't know why, this whole section folds down. And again, I have no idea why. It genuinely serves no purpose in the transformation, and the instructions make no mention of that hinge. His belly just flies open. I'm not entirely sure why. But once the whole thing is closed up, that forms his chest, so we can go ahead and take the arms, swing them around, flip the hands out like so. This is the only reason I keep thumbnails anymore. Get those in the right spot. So then, going to slide this. This is very much to the G1. I would not expect parts like this anymore. It's very rare you see it anymore. So slide his scope all the way down. Push that down to create his torso and shore everything up. And then go ahead and plug him in. Now, typically a Titan Master goes with his head facing his feet. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it around. The articulation is exactly the same, but the lock isn't quite as tight. And I do this because this is the first Titan Master I've had that wanted to leave its head behind after it was done transforming. So we are actually going to play with it a little bit and let it stay in there a little. So that done, we have Perceptor in his full-on robot mode. Now this is much closer to what I was looking for a classics and modern style Perceptor that I wanted in my toy shelves. He's very much the G1 character from the show. Really, really cool designs, proportions all the way around, and Nice, simple, quick transformation, which is very much just the G1 engineering. The head going cartoon accurate, which this is one of the strange exceptions I've noticed about Hasbro. Typically, they will stick to toy accurate. Toy is their canon. Hey, they're the toy company, so of course it is. But Perceptor is kind of an exception. Anytime I've seen Perceptor, he's always had that brand new cartoon head rather than the toy one. You'll notice I'm trying to get something to align up a little bit better here. I might need to jump cut to fix that. But for now, you can see it's a nice head. It definitely suits the Autobot scientist. The teal plastic working quite well here in the red. Very bright color scheme, very vibrant. Just enough black to tone it back, though. I really am a fan of how this manages to balance some really bright colors that would be otherwise tricky to work with. A lot of nice molding detail, too. I like layered detail. You might have noticed this if you watched enough of these. So the translucent window creating that layered effect and all the machinery behind it, exceptionally nice. Autobot sigil down there. Lots of black paint around here. You'll notice, like, I think his entire midsection here is black paint, along with parts on his scope as well. He's got a lot of paint going on, which just makes convex that more disappointing. You'll also notice that he does have a little bit of a flaw that is being demonstrated right now, and it might fix itself if I turn the head back around, which I'm going to attempt, but unfortunately, there we go. He has this little problem where that hinge is right there where his Titan Master is going to sit, right where that tab is. Now, depending on how yours came out, this might just barely get by, which mine does, or it might crash into that and make it very difficult to get his head to point straight forward. It's a 50-50 shot. Well, I don't know if it's 50-50, but it is a risk. It is something to know about. You might have to sand down a few parts here and there. So, the Perceptor itself doesn't really have a whole lot going on. It kind of leaves itself to the novelty of being an accurate microscope transformer with a working little gear on its telescope. So, let's go to the articulation rundown, shall we? Well, as we saw, the head does work if it's correctly molded and gets you left and right movement. Not a whole lot of up and down, unfortunately. Shoulders, full ball joint and universal. Very nice. Biceps, all the way around. 90 degree at the elbow. Nothing at the wrist. Nothing at the waist, but we do have the universal hips. Thigh swivel, works great. Knee bend, outstanding. Outstanding knee bend, especially considering it's not part of the transformation. That's just nice. And then nothing at the foot. So we're shooting about average. We're on par here for a modern Transformer, for a Titan's Return figure, I would say, which is nice. I wouldn't expect too extreme posing out of, it's an Autobot scientist, so I wouldn't expect a whole lot. You have a difficulty with standing. He does have those treads still in the back that fold down, so you can give yourself a little bit of help balancing poses, and that's actually very helpful if you have just a particular stance you want him to be in. Now, we're going to talk about his gun here, which is a return to something I am not happy about, which is it's a very long-barreled rifle, and it does have the legs here at the front, so it's meant to be a sniper rifle like his IDW self. He's completely incapable of laying down in a sniper stance, which makes this completely pointless. And then, more to the point, he has one of those big chairs in the back of his gun. This is getting frustrating, because I've seen this done so much better now. It just makes him look like his gun has a huge hollow section in it. Probably because it does. So at least he does have his sniper rifle from IDW, if that is the type of Perceptor you are after. Now, if you wanted to store away, just mount weapons on back or whatnot, you do have his peg hole here in the back. Side mount that in. And then, of course, if you wanted to play around with it, you got plenty of places to plug the gun in. And hey, if you want, you can even unplug this and have a giant cannon in his hand. Because, well, actually, let's go Megatron style. Arm cannon. Because it's a toy. It's meant to be goofy and fun. Play with it your way. So that, for the most part, is our Titan's Return Perceptor. He's a nice and simple figure. He gets by on the novelty of being a completely upgraded G1 Perceptor. He does carry a lot of the faults of Titan's Return figures. He's light and he's hollow and he's rather simple to transform, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's something nice about just being able to pick him up and change his form very quickly. He has everything else that I would want. He's got the hidden third mode. Glad to see it is in there. Would have been nice if it was a little bit more versatile, like the original one was. But for what he is, he does what I've been wanting. He makes for a very fine Perceptor who does everything I want a Perceptor to do. And in the end, that's all I really need.